Hello there. Today I want to talk about something that is very, very important for a writer and, well, for people in general, I would assume. Understanding and empathy. Of course, if you write stories, if you tell stories, you need, first of all, to understand what you're writing about, even if it's just the feeling that you want to evoke, and you have to have empathy for your characters, even those that you don't like, and especially those that you don't like, because you want to understand them, you want to present them believably. You don't want them to be simply a vessel for an idea that you have, or for something that annoys you, or something that you like. Now, there are two ways of empathy, let's say it for the purpose of that video. There are probably as many ways as there are people. But two ways of empathy, and let's call them a game of me and a game of you. One way, the game of me, this is the idea. If you say I need to identify with someone, quite often what you are saying is I need to turn that person into me. You need to be me, you need to be me, and you need to be me in order for me to understand you. So you're projecting yourself into the other people, but you assume that you are that person and you are essentially unchanged. It's just you wearing a different set of clothes, or rather it's just me wearing a different set of clothes, me wearing a different hat, me having a different style of beard and haircut, and everything else is pretty much the same. And there are people who practice that sort of empathy. Quite a lot of them, I would say, and of course the drawbacks for that for me are quite apparent, because you're filtering everything to the same filters that you have, without becoming aware of what these filters might be. You cannot know what you cannot understand quite easily, and if you're not challenging yourself to understand more, you will not understand more. So that for me would be the drawback of that. Of course, sometimes it's necessary to do that if you want to push your own will through. But there is a lovely, lovely example of that kind of empathy in fiction. If you think of the movie being John Malkovich, you have a restaurant scene and everybody in the room is John Malkovich. And they look at each other, and when they speak they just go, Malkovich, 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 Malkovich. And it's a brilliantly funny scene. But this is what I imagine this game of me, that's how it works. And now in general, I have to say, I am surprised every time that we humans actually manage to communicate with each other. Because if you look at a normal conversation, what is happening is that the person who speaks to the other people, or to this other person that they're speaking to, as though the other people were themselves. So they understand everything that they themselves understand, or as though they have the same troubles understanding that they have. And that's of course a very immature way to understand, and the people who are supposed to listen, who are being spoken at, not spoken to, but spoken at, they don't listen at all in the first place. So it's fascinating that not only are we capable of communication, but there are also finer points of communication, things that we pick up. And a very important maxim in communication to me seems to be the one that we cannot not communicate, that it's impossible for us not to convey something to somebody else. It is very hard to be blank and to be a cipher. You have to learn that, to not communicate, to not give away your feelings, or rather to give away the wrong kind of feelings and send out subtle signals that indicate you're thinking something that you in fact may not be thinking. But now to a game of you. What does that mean? A game of you is when I look at whoever I want to understand or speak to, and I turn into them. My idea is I transform me into you. And that means I give up all the characteristics that make up me. So I have to be aware of what these characteristics are. Who am I? And I just try to shed it and become you. And of course, if you don't know a person at the beginning, that is difficult. How do you become somebody that you don't understand and that you don't know? But it's a challenge, and it's a worthy challenge to become you. So you have to listen. You have to listen to certain signals. You have to listen to certain aspects of that personality. You have to guess a little bit. You have to use what I would consider a true form of empathy, which is basically the transformation of me into you. And that would be the basis of that game of you. Very, very complicated game to play, I think, but one that never gets boring at all. Those are a few words about empathy. Perhaps you can empathize. Or perhaps you think, what does that have to do with me? Well, as always, tell good stories, listen to even better stories, and make up the best of them all. Bye bye and take care.